The Zodiac Killer, a story of fear, silence, and shadows. It began on a cold night, December 20th, 1968. The roads around Northern California were quiet, almost empty. Two young teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, sat in a parked car near Lake Herman Road. They were just kids, talking, laughing, living an ordinary moment. Then headlights appeared behind them. A man stepped out of the darkness. No warning, no words. Gunshots shattered the silence. David died instantly. Betty ran, but only a few steps before she fell into the cold night. And just like that, the darkness swallowed the killer again. No one knew who he was. No one knew why he did it. But this was only the beginning. Months passed. Then, on the night of July 4th, 1969, while people celebrated with fireworks, terror returned. In a quiet parking lot, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau sat in their car. Another car pulled up beside them. At first, nothing happened. Then suddenly, gunfire. Again and again, Darlene was killed. Michael somehow survived, wounded, bleeding, barely alive. But what came next was even more chilling. A man picked up a phone and calmly called the police. His voice was steady, emotionless. He confessed to the attack and to the murders from months before. For the first time, the killer had a voice. By September, the killer changed. He no longer hid in the shadows alone. At Lake Berryessa, a couple, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, relaxed by the water. Then they saw him, a figure in black, walking slowly toward them. He wore a strange hood, dark and terrifying, with a symbol stitched on the chest, a circle crossed with lines. He tied them up, spoke calmly, then pulled out a knife. What followed was brutal, deliberate, silent except for their cries. Before he left, he walked to their car and wrote something on the door, dates, each one marking a previous attack, a signature of death. Cecilia would not survive, Brian would live, but never forget. Then came the city, October 11th, 1969. A taxi moved through the streets of San Francisco. Inside was driver Paul Stine and his passenger. The ride seemed normal until the gun fired. Paul Stine slumped over the wheel, dead. But this time, something different happened. Witnesses saw the killer. Police were nearby. For a moment, it seemed like it was over. But a simple mistake, a wrong description over the radio, sent officers looking for the wrong man, and the killer walked right past them, into the night, free. But the Zodiac didn't want to stay hidden. He wanted attention. He began sending letters to newspapers, especially the San Francisco Chronicle. Inside were messages, codes, threats, and a name, Zodiac. He claimed he was collecting victims as slaves for the afterlife. To prove it, he sent pieces of Paul Stine's shirt. The city realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a killer. This was someone who wanted to be remembered. Then came the codes, strange symbols, unbreakable messages. One of them, the 340 cipher, remained unsolved for more than 50 years. People tried, experts failed, until finally, in 2020, it was cracked. But even then, no name, no identity, only more darkness. Police searched everywhere. More than 2,500 suspects. One of the most famous was Arthur Leigh Allen. He seemed to fit. People pointed fingers, but evidence didn't agree. DNA didn't match. Handwriting didn't match. And so he walked free. Or maybe he was never the killer at all. Years later, another name appeared, Gary Francis Poste. Some believed they had finally solved the mystery, but authorities, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, were not convinced. The case stayed open, unfinished. And that's where the story ends, or perhaps where it refuses to end, because the Zodiac Killer was never caught. No final answer, no confession, no justice, only letters, codes, and shadows. And somewhere in those shadows, a question still waits. Who was the Zodiac?